Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for taking the time to speak with myself and Jeremy today. I'm Will, a Business Development Manager here at Thrive, and I'm joined by Jeremy Hoyland. If you'd like to introduce yourself, Jeremy.
Thanks, Will. My name's Jeremy. I work for IWG, International Workplace Group, and I'm based in the UK, living in a town called Winchester.
Lovely. Let's jump straight into it. If we start off by having a bit of a further introduction to yourself, Jeremy, and a little bit more about IWG as well.
So I head up global learning and development for IWG, and in doing that job, we serve about 10,000 colleagues with learning and development. Our business consists of about 3,300 different locations, and by locations I mean offices, office buildings, which we rent out to customers. We're in the flexible office industry, so you can actually rent an office from us, a meeting room, a virtual office, or even a membership package where you can use our business lounges. And some of the brands that we own, you can see at the bottom of the screen. Regis is the one that perhaps most of you are familiar with, but we've also got Spaces and increasingly brands such as Number 18 and the Clubhouse and HQ, which you might recognize as well. So all of these different brands serve different purposes, different groups of people, and operate in different locations as well. So I guess that's the advert over, Will. If anyone wants to contact me about any of our services, please let me know and we'll be happy to help you.
Awesome, thank you, Jeremy. And we can say that firsthand that they are very nice spaces to be working in. So lovely. So yeah, let's start exploring sort of why we're here today. So Jeremy recently upgraded their learning platform to Thrive. So it'd be interesting to explore a few of the areas which we've got down the right hand side as to sort of why you moved across to Thrive. So Jeremy, handing over to you, do you want to sort of expand on that a little bit more? Maybe tell us about where you were before Thrive and why you've moved across.
So we really had sort of 5 reasons for moving from our sort of previous LXP. And we were quite open with them in terms of some of the challenges that we had. And those top 3 were really challenges that we had. And these weren't reasons for moving, but they were reasons for looking. And in looking, that we actually were then prompted to look at various different platforms before settling with Thrive. So from a speed perspective, our previous site was too slow in terms of being able to navigate around the content. Our users reported the search functionality just didn't find what they were looking for. And from a design point of view, we felt it wasn't flexible enough for what we actually wanted to do with the site. So they were the 3 sort of technical reasons why we wanted to move. I think what we also then had is a bit of a wish list in that we wanted to upgrade the content that we could offer people. So we were looking for a partner that actually had bundled content that we could utilize. And then I think the sort of more subjective, intangible one, which is support. And what we were really looking for is a partner that sort of knocked on our door with ideas more often than we knocked on their door with ideas, if you like. So as a partner that was in a hurry, that had ambition, wanted to do something, and would be ready to challenge us and be ahead of us in terms of the development of this site and what we did with it and how we used it. So they were really our sort of 5 reasons for moving and ultimately selecting Thrive.
Brilliant, thanks, Jeremy. And just quickly, in terms of the process of when you sort of started to make a decision and you thought, right, I'm going to sort of start looking at new providers and then eventually making the final decision. Do you remember how long roughly that was?
Actively, I think probably around 3 months.
Okay, cool. Because I remember we had plenty of conversations, and I just couldn't put my finger on how long it was. I knew it was a relatively sort of a speedy process, but yeah, just came to mind. Yeah. Okay, lovely. Brill. So what we've done today is we don't know if anybody else is experiencing any of these problems with their current learning platform, if these might be reasons why you might want to be moving to another learning platform. So Cassie's going to be running a poll in a minute for everybody to answer if any of these factors you would say you'd find the most challenging. So we get a few answers on there, we can get a bit of feedback, and then when we jump into the demo of the platform later, we might be able to highlight some of the areas that that Jeremy is now benefiting from, that's helped him overcome those challenges.
So everyone's voting now,
Cool.
so just give it a few more minutes. I can see design and content are the highest at the moment, quickly followed by support, and the less at the moment is speed and search. It's still changing whilst people are voting, so I'll give it another 30 seconds or so.
Nice. Jeremy, while we wait for that, what would you say is, now you've moved to Thrive, which of those five would you say has been the most useful in changing?
So the speed is transformed in terms of how quickly people can find and launch content. We've had no complaints on search, which means people are able to find what they're looking for, which is great. I think between us, we've come up with a design that really works for us. And I think more importantly, there's a real feel of flexibility. So as we change, the sense that the site can change with us. And the content's really nice. I mean, we'll come on and show it in a minute, but what was really nice is the bundled content in terms of Anders Pink and Get Abstract, which is really nice in terms of being able to offer learners something extra, something different. And it's a great way of selling the platform internally as well, in terms of being able to offer something above and beyond the regular content that you might have.
Awesome, thanks for that. Okay, so the results are in. Design is the not the clear winner there, shortly followed by content, support, search, speed, and then search. So that's really interesting. So yeah, it'd be great to sort of jump into the platform and show the learners. Show the people that have joined the webinar today the design features of Thrive and how that's beneficial. So without further ado, more than happy to jump into the platform. Jeremy's going to give us a walkthrough of their version of Thrive. So if I just switch across to here, is that changed across? Can you see the platform? Wonderful. Okay. So for those who don't know, just a very short description of Thrive. So this is our learning experience platform. We see Thrive as a complete solution, a learning solution within organizations. We have the traditional capabilities of a learning management system, but all the exciting features of a learning experience platform to allow learners to search and explore content, but also be recommended content based on lots of different factors, which we'll be able to highlight to you today. So yeah, Jeremy, it'd be lovely if we could just sort of have a walk through sort of a demo of your homepage, maybe some of the key highlights that you can talk us through there.
Sure. So the top row, called highlights, is really our sort of semi-permanent content. So we typically start by using the top left tile to advertise something. So that might be a forthcoming webinar that's coming up, and I'll show you those in a little bit more detail in a minute. We might have a new newsletter. You see a February community action there, telling people about new topics, new systems, new tools. And then we have something which we call our playbook. So you might want to click on the playbook, Will. And this is really almost our Wikipedia of how we do business within IWG. And it's everything that any of our sales or ops people need to know in terms of how they run the business. So how to do the job, how we do processes, et cetera, et cetera. So there will be, 1,000 items of content within all of those subfolders that you'll find within that. Next, along that top row, if you want to navigate back, well, we have our personal development folder. So personal development is a lot of the content that we've got from Thrive. So this is I think you're up to 180 items of content now, Will, I forget.
Yeah, thereabouts.
Yeah, so we haven't used all of the 180. We've used that like a menu, and we've picked about 100 items of content that we've made available in here. And this is all about the individual developing themselves separate to their IWG knowledge and skills required to do their job. So those two areas work in tandem. And then also along the top row, we've got career development, just along to the right. Oh, news first, sorry. So what we've also done is added in our news content. So in there, you'll find business news, community news, etc. So that's the one-stop shop for people to find what's going on. And then a really popular tile on the far right is all about your career. So in here, we actually post jobs that are available. We feature individuals and their particular career stories. And we give tips both on interviews and on career development to help people take ownership of their own career and develop their own skills going forward. So that's a very popular area, and I think will get more popular as time goes on. So that's our top row. The only other one on the far right would be an introduction. So it's always nice to actually have someone, which in this case is me,
a friendly face.
That will really drive people crazy, watching me twice. Yeah. So
that's very true.
What you also need to do is actually just tell people about it and have someone actually stand up and tell everyone all about the site, how it works and how it's involved. And one of the nice things here is you can get feedback under every different topic and title, asking questions or giving comments on how we're doing and what they have questions or outstanding issues on as well. So that's all the top row. I think we can go back to the menu, Will, and we just scroll down quickly in terms of other stuff that's going on.
Yeah, sure. Just to very briefly just provide a bit of context on these contents, if that's right, Jeremy. So these tiles on Thrive are just pieces of content. So we can have individual pieces of content like this video is here. So it's really easy for learners to just click and get into a piece of content straight away. But what Jeremy and IWG have utilized are our pathway functionality. So you can see from this icon here, that then takes you into a pathway, which you can have subtopics. You can have, as this example, pathways within pathways. So this is the personal development. They can then go further into a specific pathway and equality and diversity. And then they've got all of the individual pieces of content on that. So as an example, this is one of our micro-learning modules, and this is the core learning or the piece of content that they're going to be consuming. So yeah, I think you've utilized the pathway functionality really well to be able to break those sections down, make it super easy and clear for learners to find the areas what they need to explore, and then sort of look at the individual pieces of content.
Okay, so just scroll down a little bit, and on the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see my learning plans. So this will be more familiar with most of you in terms of organizing learning plans, tracks for people to progress through. We tend to do that by job role. So you can see a couple of induction examples on the right, and then people can progress through some tailored content according to their role. So they would only see what's relevant to them. So they wouldn't see all of the induction plans. And what's great is we can then manage the audience in the background so we can target content at people. So in effect, everyone sees a slightly different version of the site according to the audiences they are in. And that works really nicely in terms of hiding things that perhaps people don't need to see. So it hides the clutter really well. So that's the learning plans. The block on the left, my webinars, is something that we're using extensively right now. So we were on this path before COVID hit us all, but it's really accelerated what we've done in terms of moving everything online. And so now we have a whole range of programs that we will run online as facilitated virtual classrooms. You can see a couple of examples at the bottom in terms of the Hunter program. We will also do a webinar series, which is open access invites to a whole range of webinars that we run every week. So typically we run a couple of different topics every week. Anyone can join from around the business. And you can see here the sign up process for anyone who has either been invited or would like to join one of our programs. So works really well. We haven't had any issues at all with signing up to the different webinars, people joining the webinars, and us being able to track and control them. So that's really worked seamlessly, which is critical because that's so important to what we do right now in terms of training.
Yeah, I think this is a great little component that you're pulling through onto the homepage and allowing learners to just search and explore the different events that you're running. As you said, you're running so many at the moment due to the current circumstances, and just having them up and available for learners to just explore the subjects. And if they want to sign up, they can do. With the events functionality, we link it with calendars as well. So when learners do sign up, it links and sends them a calendar invite as well. So it's dead easy for them to be able to track and join the events when they go live. Great.
And then below those areas, I think quite quickly, we can just show you sort of featured and recommended content. So these are things that we're pulling out and putting on the homepage to recommend to people to think about. Perhaps it's new content, perhaps it's important content that we want to get across. And then finally, we just wanted to pull out things that people keep coming back to. So perhaps it's a checklist that they need, that they always need. So we put it at the bottom of the homepage so they can easily find it. And then you can see a contact us. So we try and make ourselves as accessible as possible as an L&D team. So we consciously invite feedback, comments, questions, ideas, etc., so people can reach us as well. And then finally, I'm sure Will will add a few more bits, but the Discover tab right at the top, this is where all of that Get Abstract book collection and the Anders Pink internet content goes. So again, a really nice area to explore, lots of great content, and it works really well for your perhaps more curious or advanced learners who've worked their way through the content that you've got and are hungry for something else. So a great place to help those guys.
Brilliant, thanks, Jeremy. And yeah, just to explore these in a bit more detail. So we have a number of content partners that you can have as an option on Thrive, one of which is Anders Pink here. So they have a suite of vetted web domains, which you can, through our auto curation tool, automatically pull all of their contents through based on certain search criteria. So this is a web page from The Independent, as an example, which the learners can explore, which is embedded directly within the platform, which is really nice. So that's all within the auto-curated sort of internet version of Jeremy's the section of Jeremy's site. And then they've got the book collection as well, which is utilizing our partnership with a company called Get Abstract. So Get Abstract have over 20,000 different business books, from leadership to management to mental health and well-being. They're short, sharp, punchy books that can be read in 10 to 15 minutes. And again, they're all embedded directly within the site for the learners to consume. And they can also be pulled through on our auto curation tool. So within a couple of clicks, you can get thousands of books on the platform. And in Jeremy's case here, in IWG's case, they've housed it in an area where learners can just go and explore those different pockets of learning. Wonderful. And I just wanted to mention, Jeremy, just quickly, how the fact that you mentioned the featured content and also the learning plans as well is recommended for individuals, and that's a massive part of Thrive, is being able to show content to learners which is specific to them as individuals. So I think, as you said, learning plans is pushed to learners based on maybe audiences that they're associated with, so either their job role or where they're located. And then things such as featured content we can push to learners based on skills and interests. So when learners first join the platform, they can say, I'm skilled in this and I'm also interested in this. So if I said I'm interested in well-being, for example, if Jeremy then uploads a piece of content and tags it with well-being, that'll be pushed through to me as a recommended piece of content. So everything that we're seeing is personal and specific to me as an individual. So we just had a quick question in the chat, which is related to the demo, Jeremy. So if you don't mind me going on that. Craig's asked, hi, can I please ask what the points function in the top right corner relates to? I've noticed it changes and increases throughout this session. So do you want to have a chat about that, Jeremy, or do you want me to cover that one?
Maybe you explain it and then we'll say how we use it.
Yeah, lovely. So yes, yeah, it's a good spot, Craig. So we do have a point system, and you get certain points for things that you're doing on the platform. So as you've mentioned, if I go into a piece of content and I like the piece of content, that might give me a couple of points. If I share a piece of content with somebody else within the organization to maybe extend the reach of the piece of content, or maybe just let a colleague know about it, Likewise, if I comment or engage with a piece of content, they all give you a certain amount of points. Those points contribute towards a team tally, so you can see how many points you've achieved compared to your team members, and your manager can also see that as well. But we've also got this achievement section as well within the Me profile. And these are little engagement tools that learners can find and explore different parts of the platform. So you'll be able to get a badge if you upload a profile picture. Under the team area, if you answer 10 questions on the site, you'll get a badge. So again, little engagement tools that you can help the learners explore different parts of the platform. Anything to add to that, Jeremy?
Yeah, I hesitate in that we don't really use it at the moment, in that we're not really encouraging people to overuse the site or keep taking part in it for to build up points to win a competition, etc. We only want people to use the site as much as they need to, and if that means that they go and get a piece of content and then leave, we're quite happy with that. So we're not measuring ourselves against the number of interactions that people have with the site on an ongoing basis. I think for some people like to collect recognition, they like to track their activity, and I think it will work for them as individuals more than the company, and we're fine with that. But it's not something we're pushing at this stage. There's too many other good things about the platform that we're focusing on to start with.
Brilliant, thank you. And I think that segues nicely onto the next slide. So if it's okay with you, Jeremy, we'll jump out of the platform now and carry on with the presentation. And we can show everybody some of the, if I get to the right slide, some of the stats that you've achieved from moving across to Thrive. So yes, do you want to have a quick chat to everyone about this?
Yeah, sure. So we started the 1st of December, so that's the beginning of the graph on the left. And this graph's already a few weeks out of date, I think, which is my fault. But I think we're probably at about 450,000 page views so far. So it's going nicely. And you can see the dip in the middle of the graph, and that's probably Christmas and New Year week. So obviously that goes down a little bit. So from a usage point of view, we're doing very well. We're about 20% up on page views versus our previous platform. But what we are tracking a little bit more, I think, is this user reach. So it's a lovely little kind of suite of graphs that you get in the analytics. So you don't need to run reports or anything. They're just there. And we're looking at the users. So we're up at about, actually, again, this is out of date. We're almost at about 8,000 already. So 8,000 of our population have accessed the site and engaged it in some way. So we're really pleased with the amount of our population that have engaged with it. And I'll leave Will to explain how the engagement score works, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess just as a quick question, would you be able to put anything, any reason as to why you think there has been a big jump in engagement from one platform to another? Is there a specific area, or do you think it's a bunch of different things?
I think it is a bunch of different things. I mean, if we go right back to those reasons why we switched, by fixing a lot of those things, we've made it a better experience. So if the site works faster, you're more likely to go to it. If you can find content in search, you will access and use more content. So I think fixing the fundamentals has certainly helped. I think switching to a new platform really gives you the opportunity to do some housekeeping as well, in terms of the structure and the architecture of the site, and to present it in a different way. And that, again, certainly helps people find more content and engage with more content and make it more interesting. But also clearing out things that you perhaps don't need anymore. So that helps enormously. But also what we've done is done a lot more marketing and promotion behind it. So naturally, with switching over from one thing to another, we need to tell people about it. And that reconnects with people and encourages them to go and have another look and go and find something. And I think the final thing is that we've made it more of a one-stop shop. So when we were doing the demo of the site, you perhaps saw the career area and the new user area, for example. So by bringing in content that was perhaps hidden somewhere else, that gives people more of a reason to come to the site and then find other things. So it's more of a kind of department store than a corner shop, shall we say.
Wonderful, thanks very much. And for everyone watching, the results that we've got on here are really, really good. IWG are one of our most engaged clients. So yeah, 275,000 was good enough. But yeah, you've topped that already, as you mentioned. So moving on to talk a little bit about yeah, how we engage engagement, how we gauge engagement, I guess. I think one of the main contributors we feel to getting users engaged is providing a solution that is recommended for individuals, as I mentioned. So we feel that having a solution that offers personalized content to individuals based on their skills, interests, and audiences they're associated with is a massive contributor to learner engagement. There's actually two ways that we we track engagement on the platform. So firstly, learners proactively consuming content in the platform, and secondly, learners actively engaging with content in the platform. So whether that's viewing a piece of content, liking, commenting, sharing, we see all of those as interactions with the platform. What we then do to create the engagement score is take all of those interactions, or every interaction that's been taken on in a particular month. We then divide that by the amount of enabled users that have ever been accessed on the platform, and that gives us the average number score there. So Jeremy's was just over 33%, so it means that on average it was around about 33 interactions per user on the platform, which is really, really good. I think we set a benchmark a few months ago, or when we started doing this, around about 20%, and IWG have absolutely smashed that so far, so we might need to start rethinking it. Since we've been doing this engagement score and tracking this, we found that there's usually a correlation between high learner engagement and also increased business performance. So we see learner engagement as a massive tool that we need to both manage and help our clients manage as well. Wonderful. Okay, lovely. So we've had a look at the platform, Jeremy. We've had a look at some of the results that you've got from moving across to Thrive. So it'd be interesting to understand what the next level is, where you want to get to next.
So a couple of things. I mean, we want to get through 1 million page views, and I think we'll get there quite quickly. So we might need to recalibrate that one. Just turn my phone off. And get to at least 80% of our population active within the site. I think what we'll then do is switch gears and focus on the content. So we've been able to get the site how we want it really quickly, so within a month or two. So that now allows us to just shift gears, focus on the content, and then go back and rebuild and refresh lots of items of our core content. We also want to build in an accreditation program, so online badges, and we're working with Thrive to do that at the moment. So that's quite exciting, in that we'll be able to issue micro qualifications to our learners. And then with online learning, virtual classrooms being so important, we will just expand that still further. So we will offer more virtual classrooms, more webinars, more facilitated learning as well. So I see that being a bigger part of the site homepage and content as we move forward.
Wonderful, thank you. And yeah, hopefully you'll be able to work closely with the customer success manager. So for everyone listening, Jeremy and IWG have their own customer success manager from Thrive, so they'll help them move towards these goals and always try and improve on what they've currently got. As I mentioned, the engagement scores that you've currently got are amazing. They're sort of within the top tier of what we've currently got, but always pushing to that next level. So the CSM will be able to work with you really closely to try and improve that. Lovely. Okay, cool. So I guess coming to the core of the presentation and this webinar, to sort of give away all your secrets, Jeremy, 5 keys to success. Why do you think this went so well? What was the preparation that you put in? Was it the platform in whole? What was the key here?
Yeah, I mean, the first one, I call it trust the migration process. So Thrive have their own migration process that as a customer, we just followed. So that's a series of workshops, questions, interventions, which really take you through from, why are you wanting a platform, to what should be in it, to how will we build it, how will we design it, et cetera, et cetera. And that was really useful because although we had a clear idea of what we wanted, that's a great opportunity to take a step back and challenge yourself in terms of how you might want to do something different. And the end result we were very pleased with, which was a sort of collaboration between both sides and a collective idea. So the migration process was great. Trust it, follow it, it works. The second one, and again, Thrive, I think you need to cover your ears at this point a little bit, as I call it, a content first approach. And I think I try and encourage myself and others to spend at least twice as long thinking about content than you do about the site. So the site is important, the platform is important, it's got to work well, it's got to be engaging, etc. But if your content is rubbish, you're doomed. So you've really got to get that content right and not get lost and spend all of your time with the platform. And in this sense, I think what naturally helps with this, and this is where you can uncover your ears well, is that actually the speed of migration is quite quick. So it isn't that intensive from our perspective to switch from one site to another, which then gives us back time to then get on with focusing on what our real job is, which is the content. So content. The third one is the overlap, or I call it a soft launch. So we were lucky enough in that we got the Thrive site built quickly enough that our previous platform hadn't actually expired yet. So we had at least a month of overlap. And that's a really nice thing to have, in that we had both sites live at the same time. So what that enabled us to do is say to people, look, I tell you what, we've got a new site, come and have a look. Don't worry, the old one is still there if you want to use it. And then gradually, as we got closer, we just ramped up that messaging by saying, look, all of the latest content is on the new site. Be aware the old site may be a little out of date now, etc. And then we got all the way, and then we just put links to the Thrive site on the old site, so that helped people get there. And then in the final week, I think we made the old site black and white, so it made it slightly less appealing and even more obvious that you need to go somewhere else now. But no one likes to be told what to do anymore, do they? Or told to do anything. Yeah. So this idea of nudging people in the direction of where you want them to go, rather than telling them they have to go to this new site, worked really well. I always think you never underestimate the number of times you need to tell people something before they get it. So you need that overlap time as well. Linked to that, I call it teasers and a pilot. So lots of teaser campaigns. So again, on the old site, you might be explaining what we're doing. In newsletters, we're explaining what we're doing months in advance of actually switching over. So that does force you to commit. You are changing once you've told the world about it, but that's a good thing. And that forces you to keep to your timelines. And do a pilot. We tested our site on Switzerland. So we took one market and we launched it exactly how we would for the rest of the world, but just for Switzerland. So we tested our launch, we tested our comms, we did feedback surveys, etc., to get their reactions. And then we listened to them, made a few changes, and then wrote back to them to tell them about the changes that we actually made. So doing that pilot was really helpful and something I recommend as well. And the final one, never stop launching. I think this goes with this idea of you need to tell people lots of times. And people that you might assume are using your site know about it. You'll have a conversation with them and they've never heard of it. And you think, how is this possible with all the marketing that we've done and all the communications that we've done? And well, it is possible. And I think in our sort of communication-rich world that we live at the moment, people are bombarded with messaging. And so for your messaging to get through, you need to keep launching. So for us in practice, that means a 12-month launch campaign where every month we will have new communications, typically featuring different aspects of the site in terms of content, in terms of functionality, in terms of stories of people and how they benefited from it. So tell them, and tell them again, I think would be my message.
Wonderful, thanks so much, Jeremy. I love the the overlap approach that you did there, sort of playing with people's minds, almost saying there's a new shiny thing over here. You can stay here if you want to, but there is a new shiny thing over here. I thought that was really cool. So awesome. Thank you so much for that. Brilliant. Okay. So yeah, thanks again. We're going to move on to a Q&A in a minute, because I think there's quite a few questions that are unanswered at the moment. I'm again happy to jump back into the platform, sorry, if we do need to answer those. But just to quickly piggyback on what Jeremy mentioned there about our migration process. So Thrive do have our own migration tool, which we utilised for this migration. We've helped not only IWG, but companies such as Great Places Housing, Italian, Scottish Government, Yopa, Dorset Council. And what it does, a lot of clients that come to us have got a preconception of moving from maybe a traditional LMS or even another learning experience platform to Thrive, thinking that it's going to be a massive hassle getting all of their pre-existing completions, learning history, user data, content across to Thrive. So we built our own LMS converter tool. We started with that with Moodle with Moodle and also Tatar LMS and now for Fuse. So we can seamlessly move across all of your sort of existing learning history, user data, content directly over to Thrive. We then push it through our personalization engine. So as we mentioned in the demo, when the learners come onto the platform, they're seeing content which is only specific and relevant to them as an individual. And it just makes the migration process a lot more simple and something that you don't really need to worry about. Lovely. Okay, Brill. So thank you, everybody, very much. And thank you, Jeremy, for your time there. We have got a few questions, if that's all right with you. So we can run through a few of those. And again, the chat's still live, everyone. So if anyone has any burning questions for Jeremy, you're more than welcome to ask them now. So I'll just have a quick look through here to see if we'll be able to answer any. So we've got a question from Nate here, Jeremy. What activity do you feel was the most successful for your launch from an internal marketing perspective?
Senior sponsored newsletters. So for us in practice, we have a global newsletter that goes out every month, and then we have functional newsletters that go out. So making sure we were on those every month with a different story pitched in a slightly different way to tell them again. And the one slight build on that would be to also take the opportunity of various team or functional meetings. So for example, I would attend the global sales conference monthly meeting and try and get a 10-minute slot to talk about what we're doing in L&D and use that opportunity to tell people face-to-face in a virtual environment what we're up to and about the new launch. So multiple angles, lots of small interventions, articles is what does it.
Wonderful, thanks, Jeremy. Question from Anna. Do administrators on Thrive get notifications each time comments are added to content so someone can check if they've asked a question? Also interested in how you manage this in the L&D team. So yeah, Jeremy, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, so we set up a separate email address, so an academy email address, and all of the comments arrive in the inbox there. So someone in my team manages that, will respond to all of the comments directly or flag them up if they're a little trickier to answer or resolve. So that works really well, and it's really critical to keep that promise of interaction. So if people ask a question on the site, we're there to answer it rather than it just hanging there and not being answered. So that builds up the trust, builds up the engagement, builds up people coming back to the site.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome, thank you, and hope that answers your question, Anna. Another question here about what influenced you to and how you segmented your content and designed the site. So how did you sort of come up with the look and feel?
Yeah, so actually, one thing that really helped was getting the design right before we moved. So in the year prior to moving, we actually spent a lot of time with the previous site trying to get it as good as possible. So in a way, we did all of our thinking in advance in terms of the structure of it, in terms of the playbook, personal development, and so on. So those blocks of content, all the hard work was done in advance. But then, so when we came over to Thrive, we were able to say, this is what we would like. We've done the thinking. Now, how do we make it work best within this new environment? And every environment is different. And that enabled us to speed up the conversation and the process to get to the site, which it is now. So if that helps a little bit, do the absolute maximum with what you've got to start with, and then come over and then take it to the next level.
Great, thank you. I think it's worth mentioning that during the sales process as well, we gave you sort of access to a demo site to make sure that what you wanted in a new platform was capable. So we created a site to sort of replicate what you envisioned and sort of make sure that ticked the box before moving over. So yeah, I imagine that was a useful process.
I'd forgotten that. Good point, Will. Yeah.
No worries at all. Question from Roxanne. Hi, please could you let us know how reporting works and in what format it can be exported? So do you want to talk about how you use the platform for reporting, Jeremy, or do you want me to pick up that one?
Well, maybe we'll do it in two parts. Maybe I'll just offer an observation and then you can go into it in a bit more detail, Will. So we're quite light touch in terms of reporting at the moment, in that some of that graph that you saw earlier in terms of the page views, the number of people using it, these are our headline measures to start with. So in essence, is the site working? What we then do is drill down by content, so we can run reports on who's done what programs, in many ways who hasn't done particular programs, so we can target them and get back to them. And then we will run reports on those on demand, in effect, or by country or by role, depending on what our various stakeholders want. We've not gone too deep into it yet. We haven't needed to. Will, you could probably expand on some of the functionality of it better than I can, I think. Yeah,
no, that's fine. Thanks, Jeremy. So yeah, I think as Jeremy said, there's a mix of different types of reports. I'm not actually logged in as an admin here, so I can't show it live, unfortunately, Roxanne, but I'd be more than happy to jump on a separate session and move through that in a bit more detail. We have our mandatory reporting, which gives you an overview of what mandatory modules have been assigned to learners. So I've been assigned a health and safety module to be completed in the next 30 days. That automatically gets generated as a report. You can see who that's been assigned to, who's completed it, who hasn't completed it. You can export that as Excel. And we've also introduced our new analytics functionality as well, which gives you a good understanding, a report on the behaviors of your learners and how they're accessing the site, and also the types of content that they're accessing. So our analytics and reporting doesn't just give you an overview of what people are completing, but also the behavior on the site. So you can tailor your experience, your platform going forward to make sure that it's the most effective experience possible. It's also worth mentioning that the managers receive something that's called a weekly digest. So any manager on the platform who has learners underneath them, they receive a weekly digest email, which just gives them an overview of everything that their team are doing that week and important dates that are coming up. So without having to go into the platform, they get that weekly digest. Cool. A question here, a few more to get through, so we'll try our best. Do you use internal or Thrive off-the-shelf content in your personal development pathway?
Both. Predominantly Thrive content. So probably about 80% of our personal development content is Thrive. We have a few things that we created ourselves. We've got a few things that we found on the internet or purchased previously that we've built into it as well, but predominantly Thrive. I think what we like is it's right up to date, it's fresh, it's consistent in terms of the design and the format, and we really like the sort of quick, sort of 5-minute style of it, in that it's very accessible. You can work your way through a number of topics quickly. So we've majored on on using that. It's a great resource. We really like that. And then what we do is we use our team to focus more on our IWG specific content. So our design and production time goes into our playbook, and we use Thrive for the personal development.
Wonderful, thank you. And I just brought up one of our examples here. So this is one of our microlearning modules. So as Jeremy mentioned at the very start, we've got over 180 titles. So we've got content that we've got here, such as well-being. We've also got some great content on mental health and management and leadership, digital skills. So there's a great bulk of content that just comes as part of the solution that you can use right out of the box straight away to populate your site. Lovely. Okay, thank you. Another question here is Thrive an LMS/LXP, or is it a layer put on top of an LMS? Do you want to take that one, Jeremy, or shall I?
Yeah, I've got no idea. Yeah.
Okay.
For us, it's a platform that does the job, and we don't get too stressed about what it's called or what the definition is.
Cool, that's fine. To be honest, I think the industry is also getting very confused about how many acronyms there is going around at the moment. But Thrive, as Jeremy mentioned, is a complete solution. So we've replaced learning management systems such as Tatara or Calidus or Fuse or any sort of learning platform you can think of. We've replaced and put Thrive in there on its own. So it doesn't have to have a platform behind it for learning management. We have all the learning management capabilities of assigning mandatory content and tracking and reporting on that. But we also have the exciting functionality around recommending content and allowing learners to search and explore content for that as well. With that being said, if you do have a platform that's in place that's immovable, Thrive can also sit in the front of any learning platform as well and feed back to one another. But it is important to mention that it doesn't need any other platforms to be the sole learning platform within an organization. Okay, cool. Another question here, if that's all right, Jeremy. We've still got a little bit of time. So what did the hard work look like a year in advance?
Yeah, the risk of repeating myself a little bit. It was really that thinking that started on a piece of paper with a pen as to what we wanted to do. So what should our site, whichever site it would be, look like? And what content did we want in there? What did we want at the front? What would we hide at the back? What did we need to build from scratch? What did we need to integrate, etc.? So that was the brainstorming hard work, perhaps a year in advance, that we started doing. And then, as I said previously, what we tried to do is do as much of that as possible within the site we were using previously. And at that stage, not knowing whether we would stay or leave, so just doing it because it was the right thing to do. And then that put us in the best possible position for when we did move, because you're not wasting all of that time really thinking through what how you're going to design this thing or what the architecture is going to look like. You've already got that clear in your head, and then you can spend more time on the design and the functionality of it. So that was the hard work before. I think the hard work during, maybe not during, but during and immediately afterwards, for us was the connection of what we call our academy with other legacy systems. So we would find a whole range of links all over the place that people had to our previous site that we had to then, like detectives, go and find and then replace and point them in the right direction. So inevitably, there's a little bit of sort of tidying up to do around the outside of any move. But again, that gives you the opportunity to right quite a few wrongs all in one go.
Awesome, thank you. And maybe to there's another question here off the back of that one, possibly, which is almost the opposite. I don't know if you have any experience with this, Jeremy, but I think it's Lorna that's asked, what if you have no current site? How do you define what's best? If you didn't have a previous learning platform, Jeremy, before this, how would you have determined sort of what's the best for a learning platform for your organization?
Yeah, do you know, I go right back to basics, you know, in terms of maybe if you were just thinking of a course or any learning intervention at all about anything. And I would say, well, what's my learning objective? What am I trying to teach someone here? What do I want them to do differently? And start with that long list of things that you want people to be able to do or be able to do differently based on business priorities. And then I think once you've got that list clear, then you can start working on the how bit. How are you going to bring that to life? So is that through webinars? Is that through videos, animations, etc., etc.? And that starts to help build up your content. And then once you've got your content clear as to what you, as an L&D L&D team will focus on, that then steers you towards what the platform should look like. So for us, you can see that translate into our sort of playbook up front and center in terms of this is how we do the world of work for us. But then very rapidly, you can see the webinars below in terms of all of those core topics that we would like certain groups to progress through. And it just so happens it's in a webinar format. So because those are the most important things, those are the things that are more upfront in your face from the site layout and site design perspective. Quite a big topic, quite a short answer. Hope that helps a little bit.
Wonderful, thanks, Jeremy. Okay, cool. Just a couple more questions that we can try and squeeze these in. There's a few here from John. Jeremy, can you give us more detail on what the migration process to Thrive was like, please, with a smiley face? And also, if you're willing to say what your previous platform was.
Yeah, the migration process, terrible, complete nightmare.
And this is the end of the webinar. No, I'm joking.
Yes, exactly. I can see myself getting cut off now by Will, I think. No, it was fine. And I referenced some of this a little bit earlier in that we didn't really think about it too much. In that Thrive handed us the recipe and told us what the steps were, and we followed along through those steps. So when there was a workshop about design, we turned up and we talked about design, and they tended to be, I think, about an hour and a half, 2-hour sessions. So, you know, almost quite tiring, but tiring because you're thinking and you're challenging what you're doing and really trying to figure out what will be best. So that was very useful. And I think what was nice was it was quite flexible in that because we'd done a lot of this work in advance, we could skip through a few of these workshops more quickly and progress on to things, you know, on the data, the integration, the history, and so on and so forth. I forget how many steps there were. I'm guessing half a dozen big workshops that we worked through.
Yeah, there's at least sort of 6 to 8 different workshops, depending on different clients.
Yeah, but I guess the point is, from our point of view, we weren't doing the work. We were doing the thinking and we were making the requests, but in terms of all of that content migration and history migration, that's what Thrive were doing. So I have no idea how much time it took them or how complicated it was. All I know, it was done and it turned up, and for that I'm grateful. So from our point of view, relatively light in terms of you know, work or hassle, if that was the question.
Wonderful, thank you very much. Couple more questions still coming through. So John again has picked up on the great engagement that you've had on the platform. He's asked, how do you plan to hold that engagement throughout the year?
Content. So we will go back to the site. We will work through our key content. We will refresh it. We will rebuild it. We're just about to launch a brand new induction program. So we've completely rebuilt that. Something that was 200 items of content will shrink down to 100. We will then have branching off the inductions according to what role that you have. And then we'll relaunch that, track it, and then have gates that will link into virtual classrooms, etc., etc. So a more involved, more complex environment, but that will bring people to the site, but not bring them to the site so we can increase our numbers, because we're not that bothered about just numbers. We'll bring them to the site because that's the right place to go for their learning, and that's where they will find what they need, which is really what we're more focused on. So we'll focus a lot on that, and then we'll focus on the webinar content as well. So I think the big growth area for us will be webinar engagement. Typically, we fill about 1,000 seats a day when we run a webinar. Typically, we repeat it 3 times a day. It's half an hour each time, and we fill about 1,000 seats. So in a year, we're probably 30 to 40,000 seats filled, and I would like to grow that by at least 50% next year. So that's where the growth will be.
Amazing. Thanks, Jeremy. Okay, cool. So we have got a few minutes left, and there's still a few questions to get through. So people are still keen to ask the questions. If you've still got breath left.
No problem.
Another question here is, I'm the only person in my L&D team. How admin heavy is the system? Is it manageable for one person, would you say?
Yeah, I was the only person when I joined IWG, so I feel your pain. I've now got 9 people to help me, which I'm truly grateful for. But yeah, so is it admin heavy? It's as admin heavy as you want it to be, and I think that's geared more by the content rather than the admin infrastructure. So the bigger your site, the more content you have, the more admin is involved with it. What really helps is creating other admins. So for example, within our playbook, it broadly splits neatly into 2, operations and sales. So we have people within operations who are also admins, and we've also trained or coached to upload their own content. So for example, when we get a new COVID-19 guideline, they will know quicker than I will what that guideline is. They're far better placed to upload it than I am. And you can already see the names on the left-hand side of those people who are doing the uploading. So in many ways, I don't even see that. We create the infrastructure for those people, and they own their own area in terms of the content. And in addition to our team, we have about 20 admins now. So we try and manage that quite carefully, because they can wreck the site if you're not careful. But if you train them as to what they can do and just upload and change content, it's a really great way of actually reducing your admin, but making sure content is fresh and up to date.
Brilliant. So yeah, it's picking out those specialist people within the organization and harnessing their knowledge and yeah, making the most of it. To help you out, Jeremy, in cases like this, and also all of our other customers, we are bringing a new piece of functionality, which is the content manager. So instead of giving them the full admin access, it will do just what you've explained. It will allow you to highlight particular people as managers of content. So the COVID content manager, and they'll be able to upload any content within that subject area and share it with particular people. So that new piece of functionality is coming soon. So your wider admins won't be able to break the site. Well, a couple more questions just to try and squeeze in. So any tips on selling a social learning platform to business stakeholders? So I guess a platform like this, which is completely different to more of a traditional learning platform. Is there anything that you had to do internally, Jeremy, for this? Because I know that your previous platform was of a similar nature, wasn't it?
Yeah, maybe I can answer it by not answering it, in the sense of we're not using the full social functionality of it at all, in that we are not asking people to upload their own content and fill it with their own content. We take a view, rightly or wrongly, that we want our people focused on what they're doing. They have enough to do, and we as an L&D team will own the learning and development and curate the content on their behalf. So we're not looking for the masses to curate it. We will curate it. We'll take that responsibility. However, we will work with people on the front line to actually create content and make it as fresh and relevant as possible. So we're probably not the best example of how to fully use the social functionality of it. I think we might get that. We might go down that path in the future, but there's no plans at the minute to change what we're doing.
I think in a way, though, Jeremy, that's one way of answering it, isn't it? It might be branded as a learning experience platform with all these great social functionalities, but it's not everything to do with the platform. You've launched the platform and you've not pushed the social functionalities, yet you've still got 250,000 views. So even though it is a social learning platform, that doesn't mean that you need to go to the stakeholders and say that that's the most sort of key aspect of the platform. There's loads of other elements within there as well, to manage the learning within the organization and share knowledge throughout the organization. Okay, cool. There are a couple more quick questions which are going to be easy answers, so we'll just fly through those. Is there any functionality to import your own content into the platform? And which is absolutely yes. Thrive have our own content, which we mentioned, and we have partners such as Get Abstract, LinkedIn Learning, and as Pink. But you can upload any type of content to Thrive. So whether it's local videos, files, documents, any type of content that you want to, really, you can just sort of upload that and utilize it. And I think, as Jeremy mentioned, you create your content in other authoring tools. In fact, another one of the questions is, what tool do you use to create your e-learning content? So what is there a specific tool that you're using, Jeremy?
Yeah, let me take a step back. We've got about 3,000 items of content on the site. About 2,500 are ours in that we created them. And then the additional Thrive content and a few other bits and pieces. So for the last few years, we've really majored on creating content in-house. I don't do it. I've got a couple of super skilled people that do it, and they use Adobe Captivate predominantly to do that, and a couple of bits of animation software as well. So yeah, we do that in-house.
Wonderful. And I think that's your lot, Jeremy. All the questions are done now, unless anyone's got any last quick ones before we turn off. But yeah, thank you so much, Jeremy, for joining today. It was really useful to get an overview of your current platform and your journey to get there. So I really appreciate your time.
Pleasure.